Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today I thought we'd have a quick look at this. What we've got here, we've got a Sega Megadrive, and this is what I got off Andy over at Vintage Electronics Repair. He's had a look at himself. He freely admits that things like games consoles, computers aren't his thing. He's into vintage record players, vintage radios, tape recorders, all them kind of cool things, amplifiers, things like that. So he said, basically, did anyone want this thing to have a try at getting it working? And I'm actually not very far from Andy. It's only a 20-minute drive over to his house. So I said I'd take it. I gave him some bits and bobs in return. He didn't ask for anything at all, actually, but I'd rather he had something in return, so I gave him a radio and some other bits and bobs, which I don't think I'll ever get round to looking at. This is more what I do on this channel. I know I do the odd radio and thing as well, but I was happy to receive this, mainly because it's actually got a fault we can look at actually repairing on it. I've got a big box of Mega Drives. I think about 15 of them off a dealer a few years ago for like £1 each. And I keep going through them, and I do the odd one, and every one I pull out of that box has just got either a bad switch on it, or a bad control, or a bad slot. There's nothing interesting in the repair of them. This one, hopefully, is going to at least be a slightly more interesting repair, because this has got an actual fault on it. I'll show you what this is. Basically, what I got off him is I got the console. And I'm actually really pleased with this. I'll just unplug it. I am super pleased with this because it's one of the I think these are the earlier ones. It's the high definition graphics stereo sound model. It's a little bit scuffed, but this will clean up really well. All this will polish up. We can touch that in. We'll get these bits and bats and marks off it, but it's grubby, but it's not damaged. It's actually, like I said, it's actually in really nice condition. If we look on the back, you can tell it's the model, because it has that little external 9-pin port on it. We've got the standard RF output there. We've got our AV out. I'll tell you about some fun I've just had with that. And we've got our power in. It still has its cover over its side slot for the Mega CD. Let's pop that off, and if you look, I don't think it's ever had a Mega CD on it. It's still got its edge connector cover on there. So I'm super pleased with this. I said it's nice, it's complete, it's not bashed about, it's just a little bit grubby. So I got the console itself. I also got nice official Sega Megadrive controller. I doubt there'll be very much wrong with that. Again, it just needs a clean up. Cables in good order on it. Just a bit mucky and grubby, so we can go through that one. We'll strip that down and clean it. But I also got boxed, brilliant, an original Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm not into all the collecting of these like pristine in-box games and stuff, but it's nice to have at least one, because we've got the case, we've got the game, we've even got the manual for it, which is, like I said, it's super nice, and it is the game to have. It's the perfect test game, really, isn't it? I've got other Mega Drive games to test with, but that's nice just to have in a Sega collection, because everyone should have a copy of Sonic. But anyway, I will connect this thing up and I'll show you what it's basically doing at the moment. I'm going to connect it up with composite. I've got an RGB to SCART for the Mega Drive, and I've got another DIN to composite cable from the Mega Drive, and I must have spent about 2 hours today going through boxes trying to find the damn thing, and I just couldn't find it anywhere. So what I've done is that's the cable that I made up for that Atari that we was working on the other day. I've made a little adapter up, so basically it just changes the pins around, so we can use this to connect up to the monitor. So after 2 hours of hunting around for that bloody cable, 15 minutes, and I'd made an adapter up. So It only gives us mono audio and composite video, but that's all we really need for testing, and then I'll find one of my RGB cables or make another one. I think we may do some mods to this thing as well and get this as nice as we can make a Mega Drive. So we'll do the 50-60 Hertz mod, we'll do the region mod and things like that on it, I think. But we'll get it connected up and I'll show you what it's doing at the moment. That's all we're going to do in this video, I think. We might crack it open and have a look what it's like inside, but... And don't be concerned, that isn't a Sinclair power supply, even though it looks like one. It's actually got a modern switch mode 9-volt power supply in there. It's just a nice case to mount one in, so it's perfectly okay to run it. Run a Mega Drive. It's got a bit more juice than the original Speccy supply would have had. But anyway, so we've got power in there. Let's shove a game in it, and I will show you what it's doing on screen. Put the cart in. I'll just tilt you up so you can see what the screen's doing. So switch on. And as we can see, we get some lovely graphical glitches. And no amount of card swapping and jiggling and pressing it in and out like you do and cleaning. Andy's done all that. It makes absolutely no difference at all. You still get the same, as you can see, you get complete graphical corruption. Now I think Andy has only tested it with that one Sonic the Hedgehog game, so what I've got one of my test cards here. We've got Sonic compilation, which I think is like Sonic 1, 2 and 3 or something like that on it. And this definitely does work. We'll put that in and we'll try again. And as we can see, obviously it's different because it's a different game, but we get the same. The audio is absolutely perfect on it, but as you can see we get graphical corruption. So there's obviously something wrong with the video on this thing, on the graphics on it. Let's shut off. And yeah, I think we'll crack into this thing. We'll open it up. I'll put the original Sonic away in its case. I'm super pleased to have that because I don't own any Sega Mega Drive games actually even Master System games actually in the box like that. I just have loose carts, so that's nice. Put that to one side. Let's tilt you back down to where I'm working. We'll disconnect the power. We'll disconnect the video. And let's get in this thing and see what we see. Pot or something to put these screws in before I lose them. What are them screws for? I don't want to use that. There's a little pot somewhere. So we need to find a little pot. This one will do. We'll stick them in there. We'll just get the case off this, like I said, we'll just get it open for today. And we'll leave the video there, I think. Okay, let's hopefully. Yeah, there we go. I think that's all the screws out. Let's take this off. Let's just get the I think that was a daft way of securing the LED that they did in these things. Definitely done for cheapness. There we go, that's off, so we can remove the front cover, put that out of harm's way. Let's pick the last two screws up, stick them out of the way, and let's get the shielding off this thing. And I will show you where I think the problem with this is, and then in the next video we will have a go at swapping out them components and see whether that cures the problem. Let's get these out here. Nearly there now. Oops. I'm missing some screws. Definitely fix the heat sinks down well on these things. Sorry, not heat sinks, the RF shielding. I think they went to town with the screws on the RF shielding on these Mega Drives. And we've got one there. And there we go, that's off. Get that out of the way. So we can find that screw we lost earlier. There it is. Right, and there we go. We're in. Now, the people that aren't too familiar with them inside a Mega Drive. So we've got a Z80 down there. We have 68,000 up there. So we've got two CPUs. Oh, we've got a date on this one. 6th of November 1991. So we know when this one was born. Right, so anyway, we've got the two CPUs. I think that basically is the main CPU. I think that's more to do with audio. I think that's how it works. We have that's a custom Sega chip there. I think that's to do with the controllers. We have our system RAM there. One of these is the like the main video processor, like the video decoder. The other one I'm not 100% sure about. We've got our audio chip there. We've got a next to that we've got a little what do you call them? Like a preamplifier, little amplifier IC there. Underneath that heatsink there we have our main video output IC. That will obviously take its data from probably that, I think. And last by no means least, we have these two little chaps here sitting up, and those are the video RAM, and that is where I think the issue may be on this particular Mega Drive. I think one of them has gone faulty, and that's what's causing the glitches. It could be that, in which case it's scrap and we'll find a better board to put in this case, which I've got Mega Drives that work, but the cases are in an atrocious state, so if the worst comes to the absolute worst, that's what we'll do. We'll transplant a better board into this case. But I'm hoping it's going to be one of them, which is the issue with this thing, because apart from that, it's in really nice condition. The slot there is in really nice condition. Doesn't look at all banged up or anything. Doesn't look like this has ever sustained liquid damage. It just looks like it's a bit grubby from storage, really. It probably stopped working and someone shoved it in a cupboard or in a drawer or something for years until it got sold on. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Like I said, this was just a quick startup video on this. On the next video, we'll be getting them out and we'll try replacing them and see where we go from there. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed that little start video on this. So thanks for watching and goodbye.